Hi guys, so welcome to the Managing People and Organization session. Last week we discussed about the leadership theories and we have not came into the in-depth information about the leadership theories. We talked about what the management and leadership, and we differentiated them in leadership and management. So today we are going to discuss about the leadership theories. So whatever the theories include, and as well as I'm expecting to cover the motivational theories as well, just to give a brief introduction to the motivational theories, and we will be discussing the motivational theories by the next time. Right. So moving to the leadership theories, of course, there are possibly we can see 8 types of leadership theories in management. These are not limited to these types of theories, but of course you can see other types of theories as well. But here in this lesson, we are going to elaborate over all these 8 types of theories in the management, in leadership. So the first one is the great man theory of leadership. Second one, trait theory of leadership, behavioral theories of leadership, participative theory of leadership, situational theories of leadership, contingency theory of leadership, transactional leadership, and transformational leadership. These are the things we are going to emphasize on today's lesson. Right. So, moving to the great man theory. Have you seen the great man or have you seen the great men? Yeah, of course. The great man is not a person who is made through education, through exposure, through experience, nothing. The person who directly, let's say, he is born with that sort of a leadership talent. So if a person is like, they are like that, a person who is born with the talent of leading the people is known as a great man. Now, as an example, when it comes to the definition of the great man theory, it says the great man theory assumes that the capacity for the leadership is inherent. See, it is inherent, it's inborn. That great leaders are born, not made. Now, of course, we can see during your college times, you may have experienced some of the students are having leadership skills with their personalities. Some of the students are like born leaders. Some of the students are like they are having the capacity, and since because of their education and the some of the, let's say, during your college times you may have done some sort of extracurricular activities as well because of the sports and because of the other sort of the peerships, they may have become the leaders, right? These are different types of leaders. But the people, those who had that sort of leadership inside their soul, I mean, their inside their body, the leadership is born with, right? That sort of leaders are called as great men, right? So these individuals often include the aristocratic rulers. Basically, they are having the aristocratic characteristics, and they are the rulers who achieve their position through the birthright. Because by birth, they are having that sort of capacity to govern the others, right? That is what we are explaining through the great man theory. Okay, the second one is the trait theory. Traits are, of course, the some of the characteristics that you have. Traits or the characteristics that you have. Leadership charisma is there. If your characteristics are having, let's say, your personality, it can be your personality, is having some sort of leadership characteristics like influencing over the others, right? Commanding over the others, right? Get the fullest attention from the rest of the people, right? The ability to govern the others is called, so many of these things are called as the leadership characteristics that you have. Those are known as your traits, right? So basically, trait theory discusses about the particular personality or behavioral characteristics that you have. So there are 3 types of behavioral characteristics known as the cardinal traits, central traits, as well as secondary traits. Now, what are the cardinal traits? Let's say a person, of course, is having a characteristic which he or she always tend to be at the superior position, right? Always try to be the leader by their personality, by their characteristics, right? That is what we know as the cardinal traits. So they are having the superior sort of superior feeling about, through their traits, they try to be the superior, right? So that is one way of the traits of the trait theory. The second one is a central trait. Central trait is, of course, they are not much that superior, but of course they are, no, most of the people are having that sort of characteristics, right? Like listening to the others, and respect to each of the persons in their group, and having a peership, and that sort of atmosphere is with all the people. Some of those are the characteristics with all the people like most of, right? So that is called central trait. That is not superior as like in the cardinal traits. Then the next one is the secondary traits. Now, you may have seen, right? There are some very silent people in your classroom. But when he or she got anger with somebody, they will react it very immediately, let's say, in a very aggressive way, right? It is changing. In secondary traits, you say, some of the people or some of the personalities are there with their hidden characteristics. Some of the characteristics are there, but still they have not given the preference to come them at the very first, right? They are very silent characters, though they are silent characters. Once they have, when they want to, when they feel anger, they will definitely react it and show it to the others. So it's like sort of, it's a different character. So we can call these types of characters as the secondary traits of the people, right? That is not your primary trait, by the way. That is a secondary trait. Personally, I'm a very silent person, but if somebody wants to make me anger, but it will automatically make me angry, and it will it will express the anger to the others. See, right? Not only the anger, but it can be whatever the consequences that you are encountering with, right? Some of the people are not that sort of leadership oriented characters, but of course, if somebody is not getting the headship, or somebody is not getting leadership on some circumstance, a person will be a leader. To become a leader, he will be a leader, right? He or she, right? So that is what you know as the secondary traits, right? So we'll move. Now the third type of theory is called the behavioral theories. Behavioral. Now these are running with the behavior of a person, right? The leadership theory focuses on the actions of the leaders, not on the mental qualities or the internal status. Not on the mental qualities or not on the internal status, but it runs with the leader's behavior, right? The way he or she behaves. According to this theory, the people can learn to become the leaders through teaching and observation. Now let's say that is where the leaders are made. Can you understand? Now in the great man theory, we've discussed about the theory, like leaders cannot be made, right? They are still born with their leadership traits and things like that. But when it comes to behavioral theories, of course, by following some leaders, right? The way I'm teaching to you is a way that somebody taught to me. Okay, so in that case, I'm assuming, or let's say, I'm trying to imitate somebody, right? With my behavior, I make a sense. So that is what you call as a behavioral theory. Some of the leaders are there, some of the leaders are having some typical characters as leaders, so they are following them and bring them, get some of the exposure from them, get the ways that they handle the circumstances, and then they follow them. So with the exposure of, with the experience what they have gained through their role models, they will make their behaviors and they will lead. So this is the case of, actually there are some of the leaders, those who are leading through the behavioral characteristics, behavioral ways. So that is known as the behavioral theories in leadership. And when it comes to the participative theory, which is very common in nowadays, right? Leaders are basically the leaders in the sense, now we've discussed about the leadership. If somebody can influence you through, he's a leader, right? Either by the motivational factor, or as it can be through a coercion, right? Coercive way, right? But anyway, if somebody can influence over you, he's a leader, right? In the sense. Now, when it comes to participative theory, most of these organizations in nowadays are making their decisions participatively. Participative decision making are there. Why is this? Because you know why. In encouraging the participation, when it comes to the participative leadership theories, that encourage participation and contributions from group members, right? It's like mostly the democratic society, getting the ideas from the others and developing a decision through the others' ideas. So this is one way of, it's a very good method, participative decision. Now, not like simply commanding or simply asking others to do so, but of course, getting the feedback or getting the information from the others and making a participative decision. That is happening through the participative theory of leadership. And which is very, I would say, which is very effective, because you will be getting so many ideas from the others as per the corners that they are looking at, or the perspectives that they are looking at the same problem. So with this, you can implement a very good decision, or you can make a very good decision which is very efficient, because there are so many perspectives or so many angles that the others can do, can see as well, right? So because of that, the participative theory is very good. Then the situational theories. Now, as per the circumstance, whatever it made, some of the leaders are not exist, but of course there can be the leaders. There's a possibility of germinating, or let's say there's a possibility of immediate rising of the leaders with the situations. In a circumstance where you need some of the marketing strategies to be implemented, if there's a person who's having marketing knowledge, that person can be the leader of that particular team. Or let's say, if you need the financial information, financial exposure, if there's an accountant, the person should become the leader to let's say to govern that situation. Now, situationally, when the leaders are made, we call it as a situational theories of leadership. Now, as an example, leaders choose the best course of action based upon the situational variables, right? And different styles of leadership may be more appropriate for certain types of decision making. Now, in the circumstance, like let's say, if it is an office, if you want to make a decision, yes, of course, you being a leader, you can make a decision. But when it comes to let's say a circumstance like immediate fire, right? It's an emergency situation, right? If the manager, or let's say the leader of that particular organization, doesn't know how to fight with that fire, but of course an employee is there who knows how to fight with the fire. So that person may become a leader in that situation. They are under the situational leadership theories, right? That is the idea. Okay. And contingency. It's sort of volatile situation. It's like changing situation. It's a changing circumstance, where contingency theory, the leaders are focused on the particular variables related to the environment that might determine which particular style of leadership is best suited for the situation. Changing circumstances, different types of leaders are made, right? So that shows in different types of situations you may need different types of leaders. The person who handles a circumstance cannot handle another situation, right? So that the contingency, as per the situations, the changes should be made, the leadership changes should be made. So that is what you call as the contingency theory. That is what you see through the contingency theory. Then the transformation. What do you mean by transformation? Changing, right? Basically to transform some situation, transform some sort of circumstance, let's say. Now, when it comes to transformational theory, that says focus upon the connections formed between leaders and the followers, right? So you being the leader, you are trying to transform your followers to whatever the extent that you need, right? Transforming in the sense it can be changing, it can be influencing, but of course you are trying to transform the uh, whole system as you want through different ways. It can be through motivational factors, it can be through remuneration, it can be through coercive power, right? Whatever the things, in circumstance. Transformational leaders motivate and inspire the people by helping the group members and seeing the importance of the higher good of the task. That is to improve the process, right? Transformational leaders are not giving up actually. And the next one is these leaders are focused on the performance of the group members. Performance. Now, every leader is having a focus, right? Without a focus, you can't lead. Now, to get your task into that line, or let's say your task in line with, you being the leader, you must always focus on the performance of the group leader, people, the peers, right? Having an idea and having a thorough focus over the performance of your team, you can be a transform leader, right? Then the next, transactional theory. Now, transactional in the sense, whenever it comes to the scientific management era, we were just thinking about how much that you can get as the output by putting the sort of inputs, and we were totally concerned about the considered about the efficiency of the process. It's like this. When it comes to transactional theory, the transactional leaders are always thinking about inputs and the outputs. Now, let's say, as an example, that is basically the rewards and the punishments, right? If your colleagues are doing, let's say they are performing well, in the sense, you as the leader, you being the leader, you will increase their, sort of remunerations. You will impulse them through some of the motivational things, right? But if somebody is not aligning with your concern, if somebody is not aligning with your whatever the standards that you have in your performance, you will definitely maybe fire them, maybe punish them through different ways, right? So there are, transactional in the sense. Now, how much, for how extent that you are influencing the others through motivation, or let's say through positive rewards, or else the punishments. That is the idea, right? Then these are the basic things what we have to discuss today in leadership theories. Of course, I just want to touch the theories of motivation as well, basically to introduce what the motivation is, what sort of things to be considered in motivating people, and there are varieties of motivational theories as well, but I'm not going to touch the motivational theories today. So we'll get to know about the motivation. So as you all can see, the lesson outcomes are defining the motivation as a terminology, and we are going to discuss about the types of the motivations available. And in next lesson, we are expecting to discuss about the content theories and process theories of motivation, and as well as the advantages of motivation. Right. We'll first get to know what the motivation is. Now, simply, motivation is a way that you impulse or encourage the people. Now, let's say during the previous era, the managers were trying to get things done through the people, and of course, the management was called as a getting things done by the people. It's an art of getting things done by people. No, that is not. Right now, because you being the management students, you may heard of planning is a management process of the management is a process of planning, organizing, leading, controlling, of activities, right? Or maybe you probably added staffing to it. But when it comes to motivation, of course, that goes with the leadership, right? You can't ask the people to do things because the performance will be differ. If you can satisfy the people whatever they expect with the whatever they expect, so definitely you can achieve whatever you want. Simply, motivation is an internal and external factors that stimulate the desire and energy in people to be continually interested and committed to a job, role or subject, or to make an effort to attain a goal. Now, in this case, it's clear. Motivation is all about that you are impulsing, encouraging, inducing the people towards the goal to achieve it through different ways that can be either internal or external. There are so many ways of influencing the people. Or as we can say, motivation is a driving force which affects the choice of alternatives in the behavior of the people. Now, you are influencing to the person's behavior, not to the person's behavior. You can either through your motivational strategy, you can either impulse or let's say encourage, or you can discourage as well, right? The way that you use your strategy will only decide to to which extent that the person is motivated towards task. Right. There are so many ways of motivation, like the financial motivation is there, the non-financial motivations are there, right? Intrinsic factors, extrinsic factors, all these things are there. Right. We'll get to know about these things as well. So when it comes to the types of the motivation, it can, as I told you earlier, it can be either extrinsic motivation or as intrinsic motivation. So when it comes to the extrinsic motivation, that cause geared towards and through the external rewards as money, extra payments, leaves, and the other benefits. Now, most of the cases we have seen, especially the people, those who are working for the manufacturers, agencies, let's say the apparel manufacturers or as whatever the production firms, we have seen most of the workers are rewarded with overtime payments, let's say some of the money, or let's say with the leave, paid vacations, etc. These are external things. You are not actually, just because of doing business or just because of involving with this task only, you are expecting all these things. We can see that as well. In a way, it is not expected intrinsically by your mind, but those are external factors where you are expecting that sort of rewards from your employer just because of you are doing a work, right? Without having a remuneration, will there be a person to work with your company? No, no one is there. At least you must have to pay the basic salary. At least you must have to pay whatever the compensation that they expect to get the minimum performance from them. That is, of course, the external part. So we see the salaries, benefits, annual leaves, all these medical facilities and everything is like the external factors, or known as the extrinsic motivational factors. When it comes to intrinsic motivational factor, totally opposite for that factors. Intrinsic factors, which are intrinsically geared by the person. Why? What do you mean by intrinsically geared? Now, by doing a work at a perfection, at a perfect point, you are expecting a self-satisfaction. I've done something very good. Because that is why I'm including all these slides in the part of your video, right? I'm expecting the perfection, right? I'm actually, when it comes to my subject matters, I have to get the, I have to prove the accuracy. I have to make sure that I'm giving you the accurate information. Otherwise, it's not perfect, right? To achieve that perfect type of thing, I won't get paid from anybody to publishing all this material in this site, right? So just I'm trying to deliver this to you all to understand the concepts, but it's to be honest with you, I'm trying to do it in very perfect way, right? So the perfection that I'm expecting is inside my mind. Nobody can see, right? It's my own objective. So that is intrinsic. if this is not perfect, if this is not done to a perfect extent, I'm not satisfied. So I will be discouraging to do the videos again and again. My personal satisfaction is that. So referring to that internal part of your mind, we say geared through internal values such as feeling of competence, personal confidence over the task that you do. So there are some factors. See, um, power of social contacts, social status, the accuracy of the work, and the others' acceptance. So you people are accepting me as a teacher or a lecturer. I'm a lecturer anyway, but still you're accepting me as a lecturer for your all, right? So that is what I'm expecting. So those are the social expectations, or let's say some of personal or intrinsic expectations. So there are two types of motivation, known as the extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. Right. So other than this, there will be some of the motivational theories. So during my next video, I'm expecting to deliver you an idea about these motivational theories, whatever we discuss in management. Thank you very much for being on time and hope you've enjoyed the session. Thank you.